Welcome to the Genuine Life Podcast, where we take time to dive deep into conversations, stories, and teachings to help lead people to multiply genuine life in Christ in Greater Austin and beyond. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of the Genuine Life Podcast. We're so thankful that you're tuning in today. This is just a space where we hope to gather together and cultivate conversations around discipleship, evangelism, multiplying the mission that we have here at Parkway of leading people to genuine life in Christ. And I'm really excited about our conversation today. Today I'm joined with my friend Ryan Shoemaker, one of our pastors on staff, as well as our friend Abby Russell. So hi, Abby.
Hello.
First time joining us here. Why don't you just tell us about yourself? You are a student, and tell us where you go and what grade you're in, all that.
Yes, so I am a 11th grader at Weiss High School. I've gone to Parkway since I was 4, so 13 years, and yeah, I'm also a student here, and I really enjoy just the youth group and everything. It's kind of like my sports team, so yeah, that's me.
That's fantastic. And we learned recently that you are in the midst of AP tests right now, right?
Yes, unfortunately,
So
I am.
It's a bit of a grueling time of year, but you're almost there.
Yes, I have one more.
Well, Ryan, did you have any tests today or have to perform at all?
Yes.
He's so Spanish.
Yes, I did. Many tests and trials.
Well, on all seriousness, like we are so glad that you're joining us today. We thought this month of May for us, this is the time of graduation. It's graduation season. We're seeing some of our students move into summer, just a change of times. And it's also a really good time where we wanted to just highlight what's going on with our younger generation, those of our students in our student ministry. And a lot of times in this space, we try to talk about multiplication, like what is God doing and inviting us in to multiply what his plan and strategy around the world is. And so we thought it'd be cool this month to look at what that means for students too. So we're glad you're with us. Mm-hmm. You know, our multiplication strategy, it looks like outreach and evangelism. That takes me to the Great Commission that we've talked about in here before. You know, when Jesus says in Matthew 28 that he's sending his disciples out, his followers, to go and tell others about him and baptize others all around the world in the name of the Father and the Son and the Spirit. He offers his power to us, his presence, making us really his representatives on mission. And that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, another side of multiplication is the way that we look at and view discipleship. And I know, Ryan, we've talked about like that passage in 2 Timothy. Remind us about that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, you have Paul talking to Timothy and that beautiful picture of investing in, you know, the next generation of leaders. And, hey, what you've seen in my presence, what you have seen me pass on to you, the idea of entrusting that to other reliable and faithful people. And what's really cool about being a part of here at Parkway, I know a lot of other churches is, hey, when we think of the next generation, when we think of, you know, kids ministry and student ministry, like they're not only part of the future church, but part of the church today. And we want to launch and equip and prepare the next generation of disciple makers.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool to be a part of a church that's what we do. We want to invest in the next generation, like you, Abby.
Thanks. I feel very invested in too.
Well, I know we're going to pull out some of what that looks like with you, and we're just really thankful that you can be a part of this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
All of this stuff really goes to our vision too. You know, Ryan, remind us, what is our vision at Parkway?
Yeah, our vision is to reach every man, woman, and child in Greater Austin and beyond with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And what we really believe is to reach every man, woman, and child. It's going to take every man, woman, and child. So it's not just the adults doing it. It's students reaching students. It's kids reaching kids, and families are being impacted by just that whole multi-generational. So it's really cool to see that vision be reached. And it's only something that God can do in and through his people.
And I feel like sometimes we imagine all of that being a one-directional thing into younger adults, like, and students, teenagers. But I think some of what I want us to bring out is like, it's not just one direction. Mm-hmm. Like, you guys are involved in it too, and you can catch that same vision. I think you already have, and you're already living that out. So why don't we start just with something close to home here at Parkway? Let's talk a little bit about the Great Adventure, something that a lot of us know about. Maybe not everyone listening or watching fully understands. So maybe between the two of y'all can just give us a snapshot of what is the Great Adventure. It's coming up over the next few months for us, but what does that entail? What does that look like for us as a whole church, and then specifically for some of our high schoolers?
No, that's great. I just want to see if Abby wants to sing the song. Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Right, yes.
This is the great. No.
No, I wanted to give this one to you today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's about
You're so
20
kind.
years
Solo.
before her time,
Such a
Ryan.
servant, such a servant.
Stephen Curtis, who?
Exactly. I was going to ask her about that. So, yeah, Great Adventure. I'm going to have you speak a little bit to how it's impacted you and a little bit about your involvement as a student, and also how you've seen God use that. But overall, I mean, it's very transformative in the lives of the whole church, and it's really taking that mission, taking the gospel really to the ends of the earth. But it starts here where we live, work, and play, and go to school and learn. So with it being the umbrella, think of the Great Adventure as the umbrella, and then there's different series of events and ministries underneath there, from mission trips to different things on campus and off campus. But really a big part of Great Adventure is the kids clubs, where if people are familiar with VBS, it's a lot of times adults leading those, and a lot of times it's come to the church. And the idea with the kids clubs is, hey, we want to equip and train students with the gospel and to send them out into the neighborhoods where they can share the gospel and the love of Jesus. And it's really cool because you have adults hosting, you have adults driving the students, but the students are really the ones that are leading and sharing. And it's really cool to see them be on teams and work together and be passionate about investing their summer and eternity. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you've been a part of this over the years and how it's impacted you, and
Yes.
we'd love to hear that.
So I started in 2022, and I was just a teammate, but I didn't feel like I wasn't useful enough as my captains, and I had really good captains that invested into me. And I just think it's such a good thing, because I feel like on sports teams, it can be oh, this person shines, this person gets all the good things, this person, and it is good to have your solo moments, but we are so collaborative. You really cannot do it alone. And one thing you really got to learn during boot camp and during kids clubs is you got to ask for help. Rest is a big thing you really got to learn, because if you don't rest, then no one's going to tell you to. But also just on the fun side, school is a great mission field, and there's Christians everywhere you go, but to spend a week with people that are like-minded and get to share ideas and just talk about things that you see that God moved, and the way he did it is just refreshing, because it's not conversation about gossip. It's not conversation about he did, she did. It's God did. And then at the end of the night, we give praise to each other, obviously God too, but we just say, hey, this person did this really well. And it's just encouraging, because kind of like I said, going back to the sports analogy thing, it's all one team. Even though we are on the sub teams of 4 and then XA, we have teams a little bit larger than that. We're all one collaborative team. And I know too, where I'm going to be split up, if I am a captain, or I do have a captain, that I'm with those people for a reason, because I need to go to that house for a reason. And I'm on that XA team for a reason, because those kids are they're we're all just there for a certain reason. And just you can see the way God really just specifically places us all in it's just a really big puzzle. That's kind of to sum it up.
That's
So
really
just
good.
clarifying, any team would have how many students on it on average?
For Bible club teams, that's going to be about 4 or 5. And it usually is 2 girls, 2 boys. They split it up too, and it's not really by grade, so you really get to meet new people too in the youth group, because 7th and 8th graders can do it. Me as a high schooler, I know, high schoolers, but I do get to meet some of the younger youth who will be here next year, and it is good to kind of see the next wave of people coming in, and to be good examples for them, because I had great examples. And then for XA, I would say it's about maybe 10 of us per team for the 4 colors, and then some of us will be behind the scenes helpers. And so if you're not a big spirited let's get loud, wear a big wig, tutu, run outside when it's like 110 degrees. You can do tech, you can sing, you can do all those things. So.
And I know you guys are creating a really fun experience for kids, but like you're also sharing the gospel.
Yeah, we do have small group time.
And it sounds like if you started in 22, like were you around 7th, 8th grade at that point?
Yes, I just finished my 8th grade year. And so I got to be with I didn't have a small group that year next day, which I didn't mind because I got to sit with and she was actually my captain that year. I got to sit with her, and she kind of taught me how to lead an XA small group, which is way more intimate because you'll usually have around, I would say like 3 or 4 kids per group. The girls get the girls in their team. And usually for XA, it's 4th through 6th graders. So they're a little bit more aware of some bigger ideas of the world, than it would be talking to a kid at clubs who has a very like small idea and concepts of things. But getting to talk about bigger ideas with them and, seeing how they start to realize things about the world and how like sin personally really starts affecting them. So getting to have deeper conversations. And then I would say at XA, I see the biggest turnout of people coming on Sundays. And I know one girl who came that year I did it in 22, she got baptized like the year later, and I've seen her in the church ever since. And so that was a really good thing to see. It definitely is rewarding, even if it's not your small group, but like one of your friends or someone else.
So you're having spiritual conversations, you're helping like guide and shepherd younger kids in spiritual and deep things, and you're actually sharing the gospel, right?
Yeah.
Like you've shared the gospel like word for word at times.
Yeah. They have a sermon, like usually Christian will do it, or they'll have someone talk about the sermon. But even when it is like Bible clubs, each of us get to have our own gospel. And this was really good for me too, because before, like, I didn't really know what the gospel was.
Yeah.
Like if someone asked me to share it, I would just talk about Jesus. But it honestly gave me like a timeline, and I use it to talk to people my age, and even like some of the adults who drop their kids off, or when I see them at East Austin, or when I see them at clubs. It's a good way to like learn how to talk to people because they're the youngest. So, you're going to get the least criticism from them. Well, sometimes the most. Little kids got a lot to say, but it's usually funny.
They do.
I just think it's so cool how how bold you and your peers are in that environment. And, we've talked on here before on this podcast about how many of us adults, like we struggle to share the gospel, like using words with somebody. It's just so much easier for us to just want to be kind to people, be nice to people, and try to love them towards Jesus. But like when the rubber meets the road, it's really hard to share the gospel. But it's always been inspiring to me to see, like, we've got students so much younger than us that can put it into words, that know exactly how to lead somebody towards making a decision for Jesus. And you guys do it year after year. And you've been doing it since you were in middle school. Like, that's awesome.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I was going to ask, and you answered that question, though, was how has being a part of the Great Adventure equipped you for building confidence in sharing the gospel, which you shared with, but have you even seen that play out at school, or I know in dance, or at work or whatever?
Yeah.
Maybe you can share a story of how it's built some confidence and how it's led to some conversations with maybe some friends.
Honestly, the best one I can remember is, like, one thing I always say is when it comes to sharing the gospel, like, I don't want to just want to drop it, like, kind of like at a front door type thing, like Amazon, and just like leave.
Right.
But to be more of like invested in them, because I'm a big talker, I'm a big social butterfly. So I would say that year that I did it, that my first year, 2022, I was going into my freshman year, and this was my geometry and my math class, and my schedule had gone changed like 6 times, and I was like, I am done with this. And then I finally got settled in this geometry class, and I had no friends, and I was like, this is perfect. But then this one girl asked to sit next to me, and I was like, I love a new friend. And we actually became really good friends that year. And she followed me on Instagram, so she had seen that, like, I am a believer, I do go to church, and I do, love Jesus, things like that. We didn't have conversations about it. And one day she came, and like I said, this is like the whole year. So I had already done that first year of boot camp, and I would talk to her about the gospel, but she was struggling with some personal things that I think were making her think she was too far. And so I really got to have really good conversations with her. And then she had a very traumatic like life event happen. And so she came to me the next day and was like, I listened to a sermon, and it was just like on YouTube, and I didn't know what church, and I was like, wow, that's just a great first step. And then in May, so around this time, actually 2 years ago, I was like, I'm just gonna try, because she was texting me, and I was like, we're not in person, like there's nothing she can do, like I can't see her face, so I can't see if she's rolling her eyes, let me just do it. And so she asked me, she actually texted first, and she was like, why do you believe? She was like, what makes you do it? Like, I don't understand, because I had an injury that year, and it really like kind of rocked my world. And she was like, I don't understand how you had hope in that and faith in that. And I was like, this is the segue. And so then I got to share kind of, and it was really like, now that I look back, I was like, oh my gosh, I shared it like she was like 4, but it worked. And so she gave her life to Christ, and she follows Christ. And I don't see her as much anymore, but that was a really good first thing for me, because it took, 9 months, but I wouldn't ask God to make it shorter, because I developed a friend, and I still check in on her, and she still checks in on me. But yeah, that was the first time I really ever got to like use my full knowledge, and like I've included the ABCs, which I don't really do anymore. Like, go talk to me by this desk. Yeah, but yeah, it was really great. That's like peak moment.
Just to clarify,
yes.
Share what are the ABCs?
For all
what's
of
that
our
mean?
listeners,
some
Oh,
people may
yeah.
not have heard that before.
That's just kind of how we like close out our gospel presentation. We'll be like, because kids know like their ABCs, so we'll be like, A stands for admit, like admit that you're a sinner, and B is believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, and then C is choose, because you make it seem like a gift, then they're like, ooh. And so we'll say like, choose to accept that eternal gift that he offers for you, and it's free. And so, and then we'll say, meet me by the tree if you want to talk about it. But yeah, those are our ABCs, and kind of like make the big point in like three big ideas.
Yeah, I mean, that is simple enough for a kid, but to be honest, a lot of adults could use that just as easily. Like, that's easy to remember. It keeps it simple. It focuses on what's most important.
Yeah, it's good.
What I heard in there that I think is so cool is, one, you saw an opportunity with this new friend in your class, and you didn't want to make it artificial. Like, you cared about her in the first place. Like, you cared about her as a person, not just someone that might be a believer in Jesus and check a box. And then second, you saw an opportunity coming to like actually engage in the conversation when she asked about you, and you didn't shy away from it. We might be tempted in some of those cases to be like, that might be really hard to put myself out there, so I'm going to back off, but you didn't. And then third, like you remain committed to her, and you're still continuing the relationship. So it wasn't just like a transactional thing to get her quote unquote saved and then done.
Just like a tally mark.
Yeah. I think that's so cool. Like, way to go for
Thank you.
being missional like that. It's a big inspiration.
Yeah, it's good. Seeing people the way Jesus does.
Yeah.
And how cool to see you have the perspective of, even in the midst of changing all the schedule around, and and then like, I'm in a class that I don't want to talk to anybody, but being open to, okay, God and his sovereignty has put me here next to this girl, and I want to be intentional with it. So it's good.
Let's look a little bit further. Like, if we look into the future, you're a junior now, a year from now, do you see yourself going off to college? Like, is that something that you're trying to plan for? Yes,
I do want to go to college. I actually do want to get my PhD eventually. Yeah, I have really big goals, and I would like to go for psychology. I just feel like when you did your sermon during Captain's Camp over thinkers, feelers, and doers, like I just realized I really am a feeler. I've always been like just so connected with people, and so I really feel like, because before I wanted to dance, and looking back I'm like, ooh, but now like I really do feel like that's something like the Lord wants me to do. My big like long-term goal is to like give free therapy, because there's so many people who don't have access to it, it's not something they can do financially, or they don't have family members to support that idea. And so I'd like to like go to areas and just give it for free.
That's cool. Do you feel like what you've been equipped with over these years, like as a student, to love other people with the love of Jesus, and to be able to share with people verbally about the gospel, and then just help see more people come to be followers of Christ as disciples. Is that something you see following you when you're beyond this place, when you're out on your own as an adult and in a career, in college first or in career mode after that? Like, is this something that it's going to go with you, do you think?
Yes, I would say just this churchy environment, even the things in the summer, have really shaped me, because I always say, like, comfort and growth, they, like, work inversely. And so there definitely have been times where I've been, like, uncomfortable or had things happen. I'm like, this is really hard. I don't want to do this. I don't want to knock on this door. But it's really just shaped this mindset of, like, they're just like, God can do it. And so I really do look for a religious, like, atmosphere with people in college. And I'm just really excited to see, like, the new ministry that I'll get to be with, and the new group of people that I'll get to evangelize with. Really just broaden my horizons.
I have no doubt that God's going to continue to bring people in around you and close to you that are far from him. And you're going to have lots more opportunities, because you've got a lot of great tools in your tool belt for this, and you're not afraid to use them. So I'm excited to see that.
Thank you.
You know, Ryan, it makes me think of, as I mentioned earlier, like with it being graduation season, I just think big picture, we as a church try to view this as like, we're not trying to just get high schoolers to the place of graduation and then graduate them and send them out. Like, we're trying to view this more as launching them out into the world as young adults that are disciples of Jesus, ready to make more. Anything you want to add to that, or how do you view that?
No, I think that's so true. I mean, obviously, I think as even a parent myself of kiddos this age, you know, it's like, you think of the, scripture talks about the quiver and having an arrow, but really what's arrow, you let it fly. And I think, that's what we want to do, is we don't want to have that checkbox of, like, you've graduated, yes, and you got decent grades, you didn't get into too much trouble, and yay, you came around a couple times. We want students to feel that God sees you, God loves you, and he's got great things in store for you. And we want to do our part, our responsibility, to help equip and empower students to be exactly that, be launched to go be a light in the world. And I think, like, when Abby can sit here and say, like, I do feel like I've been supported, I do feel like I've been equipped, and I've been given not just tools, but I've given opportunities to fail or opportunities to be successful. And I've seen God work in me and through me. So now wherever the Lord brings me, all these things that I've learned are reproducible. It's not just in Pflugerville or Round Rock or Austin or the area or my high school. It's being able to, wherever I go, to your point. But we want to launch them into the world wherever the Lord may bring them for his glory.
And that's why I think, like, we're a church that has all generations. We've got people of all ages. And that's why I think it's so important, not just for us, but for all churches, exactly like you said a while ago, to not view young adults, students, as the future church or tomorrow's church, but, like, absolutely as the church right now. I think it's really important to, and we try to make sure that we are investing into this generation, like the generations below us or behind us. Like, I think that's really critical. And part of it's not just Great Adventure, but that's one huge representation of some of the things that we do to invest into our students. And we don't want to let up on that. Like, it's really essential.
We want to call them the high things, and we want to call them the same things that Christ is calling them to. And
and there's a lot of leadership in the next generation too, that we're trying to find, identify, empower, raise up,
and we can learn from as well.
Absolutely. I think it's easy sometimes for us that are millennials, Gen X, boomers, beyond, like, for all of us that are older than our students to look at this generation and just think, like, oh man, they don't care about this, or all they care about is themselves. They never get off their phone, whatever. But, like, I think for us to rewrite that narrative together, like, not just us doing this, but working with you guys to create a new narrative that, like, no, there is leadership, there is discipleship present in our young generation that just needs to be called out, equipped, and raised up for the present and the future. Like, that's really powerful. You know, if you are someone that has responded to Jesus's invitation as a disciple, as a follower of him, but there's a lot of your peers, maybe, whether they're listening or not, that maybe haven't had that same invite or haven't caught that same vision of what it means to be a disciple that makes more disciples. Like, is there anything you'd want to communicate to even your peers of your generation that may not be quite as deployed or launched on mission yet? Like, is there any message you'd want to get across to people of your own generation?
Yes, I'm actually very passionate about this. I see it in school a lot. I get a lot of questions. But just I think people, especially my age, I see them wanting to follow a religion. And, at first I was like that too, but, man made religion and God made a relationship, by sending Jesus. And so I think it happens to where like they see a Christian and they're like, they don't act like one, they don't talk like one, like they don't, whatever. And by no means is nobody going to be a perfect Christian or a perfect example. But I think which is to say that like there's, the Bible talks about like there's good and bad fruit everywhere. You can go to a church and meet someone who's really mean to you, and you can go to school and meet the nicest person, and you can have them flipped. But I think one thing I would say is that I think that we're all, not like we're all like as a collective, but what I've seen by just, going to school with people my age and just being this age is that it's a very I'm going to do what's best for me. It's a me thing. Like, it's my world. And I do think some of it is the age, just because I haven't been introduced to the big guns yet. But, but yeah. And I just would want to say that, like, even with small things like AP testing or where do I go to college or what do I want to do, just those questions that, like, things that do cause anxiety like that, like there is hope. And I think that's the one thing for me too. And also like relationships, like the need to feel loved is so, I think it's like one of the biggest problems I see with just with my friends, even like with myself, to be honest. And, even with some people older than me, I just, see a need to be loved. And that was my biggest thing. And that's what I think really drew me to Jesus. That was the thing that really invited me, is that like somebody never personally met me, never saw me, never really talked to me, never, sat on a couch with me, and never was like, Abigail, like, I love you, but, wrote a book for me, gave me family, gave me a church, there's been many opportunities where something could have happened to me and I would have no idea, but a God has just followed me and loved me. And I think perspective is what I would just say for people my age.
That's pretty awesome. Because, there is a God of perfect love out there.
Yes.
That is just waiting to express that. Not waiting, but he's actively expressing that to all of us, but including your own generation.
Yeah.
That's cool. I want us to learn from that, of how we can better communicate that to our young leaders of today and tomorrow.
I was just going to say, it's good for me to hear, because a lot of times it is, well, this is how we learned it, or they just need to listen to what we say. And when we can shut up and listen, be quick to, listen, slow to speak, and say like, well, man, if that's how she came to know Christ, then maybe that's how others would come to know Christ. Yeah. Or if she's just like parents would say, would you just listen to me? Like, well, would we just listen sometimes? And not from a standpoint of like obedience, but like just they have a voice and and as a believer, she has the Holy Spirit, same one that's in me. So like she's got a lot to offer, and this next generation has a lot to offer. So if we would actually listen, we could actually maybe learn some things ourselves.
It's true. Okay. And Abby, I kind of referred to this earlier, but like, knowing that a lot of people listening are our age or even or older, is there anything you'd want to communicate to generations older than you about, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, young leaders of today and tomorrow? Like, what would you want us to know about you as a follower of Christ, or people like you?
I think maybe social media, it can definitely be a really big burden on your life, but it can also be a really big way to share. I think boundaries are very important. I bet there was things in everybody's childhood that not everyone gets to experience, that it's hard to understand. But for me, social media, it's it's fun for me. I don't really feel and I'm sure my parents may say like, oh, there is, but I do get to really express kind of like it's something fun for me to do, and I feel like it's the way that God uses me, and that may not be it for everybody, but it's a good way too. I've had so many people from just questions of like, oh, what Bible is that, or to what church do you go to, or just the other week someone was talking to me about like, or even just encouragement, just having someone say like, hey, I want to get closer to God because I see you, or just hearing that, people tell my friends that, because some people don't want to go up to you in person, or they don't go to school with you, or they're just a friend from like 2 years ago, and they don't want to be like, hey, can I like come to your house and like talk to you about this? So, but also that like we do need your wisdom and the older generations, and I definitely would not be here without Kathy Box. I did not want to go to church for a really long time, and I was like, I'm not going there. But my mom, she went to Kathy Box, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And she prayed for me, and she told my mom, she was like, you just got to make her go. And ever since then, I really just was like, okay, fine, I'll go. Like, I was like, one time, like, is there going to be food? Like, probably something like that. And then I went, and my best friends are here, and my church is here, and it's just so great. It's definitely going to be something hard to say goodbye to next year, but it definitely has like developed me, and it has saved me too from a path that I'm like, woo, like only God can take me off that one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, even just the big picture, I'm so thankful that we've been able to have this conversation today.
Yes, me too.
And for you to be able to offer some of these really key insights into young adults, even Gen Z in the church today. I think it's just really big. Like, there's a lot of conceptions out there that the church of tomorrow is doom and gloom. It's dark, like that Gen Z is leaving. And, I think it's really helpful for, as you've reminded us today, for us to know that God's not done, that there's so much hope in the future of the church.
Yeah.
And that he's inviting every one of us to take part in that, no matter where we are. So.
And it's so fun to see churches in like way across the world, and you get to see them talking about it. Like, I would have no idea what like India or China or any of them are doing, but I get to see them. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thank both of you guys for taking part in the conversation today a whole lot.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening in, tuning into this episode of our Genuine Life podcast. We look forward to more like this. So we'll do this again next month, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.